Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a pen from Fine Writing International. And that pen today is the Saturn model from their Planets range. Now this is a really interesting pen. It comes from Fine Writing International is a Taiwanese brand. And they are a shop who have their own brand and line of pens. And this is one of them. They have a range of pens called the Planets. And this one, as I said, is the Saturn. As you can see, they're written on the cap band. It's a really interesting pen. Took me by surprise, I have to say. But yeah, let's have a look at it and see what it's all about. So, as I said, made in Taiwan. It's made of acrylic, and the acrylic is described as unbreakable. Now, I am not going to test that theory, but I have to say the pen feels really robust and really beautifully made. It's not a particularly cheap pen, retailing in Australian dollars for between $80 and $100. It can be bought from Fine Writing International or places like was it right here, right now, whatever it's called, in Shrewsbury in the UK. They also stock these pens, so check them out. I think they're really worth looking at, and particularly if there's a finish that particularly you find interesting. Now, I'm going to be looking at this particular finish today, but I have to say the Mars finish looks pretty exciting. That might be one that I might have to get my hands on. So let's look at the pen. So it's, obviously you can see it's flat top and flat bottom. On the top is the logo planetary symbol thing, and then it's got these sort of black anodized steel trim furniture with a little ball on the clip there. Now the clip is pretty, I wouldn't say it's loose, but it's got sort of a lot of movement in it, and with the ball it's going to make putting it on shirt pockets and in pockets pretty easy, and you get a bit of a distance there, so you can put it over some relatively thick material as well. The cap band there is once again the same anodized steel. It does chip, obviously. It's not going to stay perfect, as you can see the little chip on mine, but it's a nice trim and a nice finish. The cap is mostly pretty cylindrical, as you can see. It screws to cap, and there's a sort of like little cushioned sense in the capping, which is nice, where the cap liner engages. And I have to say the cap liner does a great job. This pen always writes first time every time. The barrel is clear. I've got it inked with Lamy black, so you can't really see, but you might be able to see just around the edges there that it's a completely clear acrylic little band, and then end cap there being the same color as the cap, which in this case is the yellow with the black markings, which is a really interesting finish, and of course the flat end. It's a really interesting looking pen. It's not going to be to everybody's taste. It will be to some people's taste. I like the pen. This particular color finish is not something that I would normally go for in my own pen collection. As I said, probably the Mars is the closer one for me, but I really do appreciate it. I've really come to actually quite like it. It's a really interesting material, and it's unique, which I really enjoy. So that it screws to cap and reveals the section made of the same material, and then a number 6 Yovo with branded nib for the Fine Writing International there, as you can see. And this is a medium. It's the black Yovo nib and plain sort of plastic bead, and they do a great job. These Yovo nibs are great. No one's ever going to sort of say that they're not up to the job. They're smooth, they're wet, they're pretty well tuned. So you know, you are going to get a writing instrument here that does a pretty good job. The section tapers slightly, which is nice, and it's actually got a really good feel in the hand when you hold this pen. I don't post it. It's plenty big enough, absolutely, to be used unposted. And the section has a nice sort of diameter as well, and it doesn't feel slippery in this sort of acrylic. So it can be used for long writing sessions. I've been using this as sort of an everyday writer for a couple of weeks now, and I really am enjoying it a lot. So obviously the filling system for this pen is interesting. It can be filled 3 ways. It's either filled using eyedropper, which I have done here. It is provided with a syringe without a needle, but I'll come back to that in a minute. You can use a converter, which is also provided with the pen, or you can use standard international cartridges. Fabulous. Let's talk about the stats of the pen. Now, if at capped, it's 146 millimeters. Uncapped, it's 136, so that's still a really decent size. And posted, it does post, and it's secure posting, but it does make a very long pen at 186 millimeters. But the balance isn't so bad because the material itself is quite light, but it is quite long, and I certainly wouldn't use this pen posted. The pen weighs 25 grams, and that's inked, which 10 is in the cap and 15 in the body. So you can add a couple of grams for the ink, because it probably holds between 2 and 3 mil of ink from my estimation, which is pretty great. Now, just for size comparisons, we'll put it here alongside a Lamy Safari. So you can see there it's slightly longer than the Safari, but not dissimilar in sort of length. The section of the Saturn, by the way, is about 10 millimeters in the middle. Another pen I'm just going to put it alongside is the Pelikan M800, which is considered not a small pen also. And as you can see, the Saturn here is actually a bit bigger. So let's do a writing sample, and I have some rhodia paper here. As I said, I've inked this with Lamy Black, and I've been using it as an everyday writer, and it's been a really lovely everyday writer. It writes really, really well. So what we have here is the Fine Writing International. This is from the Planets series, and it is the Saturn finish. It has a Jowo number 6 steel medium nib. Now, Lamy Black is a good sort of solid ink, and as you can see, it puts down a good wet line. So I'll just write that Lamy Black, so just in case anyone is interested in exactly what miraculous black this is. But the pen is smooth, it is wet, it writes just beautifully. Now, these Jowo nibs are not flex nibs, are not springy. If you put down a bit of pressure, you get a little bit more ink out, but I wouldn't really say there's sort of line variation so much. You can see there that, yeah, between no pressure and pressure, the variation is absolutely minimal, but it writes absolutely beautifully. So I am really very happy with this pen. Now, I have another Fine Writing International pen that I'll be reviewing in the next couple of weeks. That'll be getting sort of a more elaborate review. I think it's a pen that is really interesting for a lot of reasons. But as a quick, look at this pen, what it can do, how beautifully it writes. And if I just do some quick writing. Totally illegible, but there's no skipping, there's no hard starts. Reverse writing, not so crash hot. It's not designed to be done by that. Right-handed writing, it's beautiful. It's really, these Jowo nibs are great. And, they're well tuned to write under their own weight, no pressure on that whatsoever. Beautiful. Now, in terms of the balance of this pen, because it is a light pen, uncapped, you're sort of talking about a 15-gram pen here. You're not being tilted anyway, you're not being led anyway, so you are doing the writing. Some other pens are sort of more, the weight is more led to the nib or towards the back. This one is pretty even, and it feels nice in the hand because of that. So let's just do a summary now, okay? So this pen, as I said, retails for $80 to $100 in Australia, or Australian dollars. You can't buy it in Australia yet that I've found, but from retailers such as right now. So, right here. So it's, it's a really decent pen for that money. I think there are other pens in the market at this price point using acrylics and things, or much less, that use a standard number 6 nib. But this is a unique one, and it is part of a nice series. So I think it's worth the money. Now, things I love about this pen are the size and the weight, the ink capacity, the multiple filling systems. These are all big pros. I think also the unique shape and the unique finishes are really a pro as well. There are cons. The price is a bit of a con. You think of things like Pen BBS are producing pens at a much lower price point. Nothing quite like this, but still acrylic pens and eyedroppable and all those sorts of things. So something to be aware of. The finish being there, like sort of being able to chip and that sort of thing. Not a deal breaker, but it's not something that you want necessarily on the pen. And the other thing I tested with this pen was the seal. Now I didn't put any, it says it's eyedropperable. Now for me, if a pen is being sold as eyedropperable, it should be eyedropperable. That's not easy to say quickly lots of times. Eyedropperable out of the box. Now, so I didn't put any silicone grease on these threads. And as you can see, there is an O-ring, so that's good, but it's not necessarily holding. There is a little bit of ink coming through, through the threads there. So if you're going to eyedropper this pen, you will need to use silicone grease. Not a deal breaker, but just something to be aware of. If I use this pen, again, I'll probably use the converter. That's my preferred method, but I wanted to see how it went as an eyedroppered pen. Now, talking about the eyedropping of this pen, it comes with this syringe, which still has to be cleaned since I inked it a couple of weeks ago. Now that's great. Great it comes with the syringe, but without a needle, it's actually not ideal to fill this pen using it. So just something to be aware of. Once again, if you've got eyedroppers or other syringes around the place, you might want to think about using something that you already have. Anyway, the packaging this pen comes in, this particular one comes in a nice sort of little cardboard sleeve here, which has the logo there on the top, and then open it up, it's got the little foam insert for the pen and the syringe, and then a little bit of sort of basic filling information, which I can't read necessarily, but it gives you the idea of what's possible. So yes, this pen is really interesting. I really like it. It's certainly a pen that I've really enjoyed using these last couple of weeks and will continue to enjoy using. It's not a cheap pen, but it's not an expensive pen, and I think it's worth the money if it's a finish, or if any of the finishes are things that you're particularly interested in. So this was the Fine Writing International Saturn from the Planets series. A really nice acrylic pen, beautifully smooth, reliable, wet, great pen. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can email me or comment on any of my videos here. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, get in touch, or if there's a way you'd like to support this channel, get in touch and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.